I think I missed
Dispatch. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we're back for another video discussing Dispatch and its potential second season. Well guys, it's kind of an interesting video for me to make considering we just got the recent announcement of The Wolf Among Us 2. As I told you guys, maybe it was Dispatch and AdHoc that fully woke up Telltale and finally decided them to get their butts in gear, because Dispatch has now created kind of like that opening again where we can see the episodic genre starting to really make a comeback. Seeing The Wolf Among Us 2 now back, even though AdHoc, who'd made Dispatch, not being on it, it's just, you know, very heartwarming for me for someone that started my channel covering these types of games. It means the world to me. Now that we know The Wolf Among Us Remastered is coming out this holiday season, and the sequel, The Wolf Among Us 2, is coming out in 2027, now everyone's gonna be, okay, Dom, well, we got that now. Where's Dispatch? What's going on with AdHoc? And we're gonna be talking about that in this video. In the last month, we've gotten a couple new interviews, and we're gonna talk about also some latest updates in regards to the first game. We got a new update slash mini DLC, an idea on when we might be getting the Xbox port of the game as well, and some other stuff on the potential Critical Role game that also we know AdHoc is working on. All right, if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content covering this. If we can go for 1,500 likes on this video, I greatly would appreciate it. Make sure to join the near 30% of people are subscribed by hitting the subscribe button, notification bell, have it set to all, and join the 103,000 people that have all notifications turned on by hitting that all notification bell. Sure, follow me on social media down below, and let's get straight into it. All right, so I'm going to quickly summarize what I talked about a month ago in case you missed that last video, and then we'll go into the newer interviews and some of the stuff with the OG game. On April 30th, Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham were interviewed about Dispatch Season 2 and some of the other stuff related to that. And Travis had been asked, I know you can't give me any formal news for Dispatch 2, it hasn't been officially announced, but I've got to ask, what would be on your wish list for a potential sequel? Which characters would you like to see more in the spotlight? So he talked about, even before the game came out, it was like, how much of this world is there? Do you guys have a plan to do more of this? Team AdHoc looked at me like an idiot, laughing. The answer was obvious, yes, of course, but I haven't heard anything about any plans or any timeline for potential Dispatch 2. And he said some of the things he'd like to see is a little bit more of the fuck-ups. I want to see level 1 Punch-Up get into it. I want to see a little bit of the origins. I love the little taste that we got. I want to see where they came from, what led to Destiny in the first place. Laura Bailey said, I want to see a level of Sonar romance. I want it so bad. I want to see more Waterboy. I loved Waterboy and more Royd. And then, you know, Travis continues to say, I want more Royd as well. And then Laura Bailey's like, the varsity squad, we're following the JV delinquents, maybe even have a classic class of the F-ups versus the pros. That would be great. And then we had this interview with the lead game designer of Dispatch, Charles Markholm, about Dispatch, and he was asked about the premise of an unlimited dispatch mode for the first game being added potentially in an update, and he said, stay tuned. And he talked about how Critical Role had saved them basically because their publisher Saber Interactive pulled out and Critical Role came in, which allowed AdHoc a lot of freedom, but there was misalignment, and Critical Role came along and saved them. And then the partnership formed, and he said around the line, so I think we will eternally have this connection. We have a conversation about doing a project together, which we do know is the Critical Role game, so for sure we will, for the rest of our careers, be connected. We know that AdHoc's next project will be a collaboration with Critical Role and will be set in Exandria, the world of the legend of Vox Machina. I tried to find out what's coming, but Charles said he doesn't have much to say. There's not much I could say right now, but any project we do in the future will have some level of connection to Critical Role. No matter where we go, Critical Role will be involved in some way. All right, so then after that, last month we had this article, Dispatch creators discuss sequel and Brazil's importance to the game. Dreaming of a second season of Dispatch, the game developers, including a Brazilian, commented on the subject at Gamescom Lat. So this is from Tech Mundo. It's a Brazilian outlet. I had to translate this in English, so again, everything might not be word for word exactly what I say. This is new. I've not talked about this. I did mention this a little bit in a short a couple weeks ago, but I did not mention this in a full-on video. So the success of Dispatch seems to have opened doors for the future of the franchise. During Gamescom Latam 2026, Herman, the game's director and co-founder of AdHoc Studio, commented on the possibility of new content and a sequel to the project, although he avoiding revealing concrete details. In an interview with Voxel, Herman explained the studio was already thinking about a bigger future for the Dispatch universe while the first game was still in development. According to him, the positive reception from the public ended up changing the team's internal plans, which now allows them to consider new stories and characters within the universe. And as I just mentioned that Travis Willingham article earlier in the video, AdHoc had already had kind of like, okay, well, we want to do more. But then when you have a game that really you had expectations for, you thought maybe it could do pretty well, but when it sells over 4 million copies, becomes a pretty much global phenomenon, is played by so many people, talked about by so many people online, has millions of views across all social media platforms, is universally regarded as a very good game. Of course your plans are going to change. Of course you're going to start, now you might have to put that Critical Role game to the side or expedite the process of making a potential new Dispatch game, because let's be honest, if Dispatch flopped, it would have just been probably a one and done title. Furthermore, the conversation also highlighted the strong relationship between the game and Brazil. The country not only appears among Dispatch's most engaged markets, but also has direct involvement in the game's development thanks to Brazilian Charles Marcom, who we just talked about in the IGN article, who is the lead game designer at AdHoc Studio. Dispatch creators suggest plans for a sequel. When asked about a potential sequel, Herman remained mysterious, but made it clear that there are ideas being discussed internally. If I talk about what I'd like to explore, I'll basically be telling you what's going to happen, the director joked. And remember, we talked about months ago in November about how AdHoc had basically had to come to a decision where they decided to what they were going to do next, whether that was going to be Dispatch Season 2 or the Critical Role game or even something else. And they've already made that decision, which in my opinion, I think all you guys, they probably decided to make Dispatch Season 2 first. And I think that would be the correct decision. According to him, Dispatch was born with a long-term vision, but the studio didn't imagine it would have the opportunity to expand the project so soon. So maybe it would have been one of those things where they release the game, maybe it does decent, maybe sells near 1 million copies, 500,000 to 1 million, right? And maybe they can see a pathway eventually where, hey, 5-ish years down the line, we get the Critical Role game out, then we can maybe re-explore it, maybe do a bit more. But this game, like I said, took the world by storm, and you don't normally get that all the time. So while the iron is hot, you strike. Now with the positive reception from the public, the team sees potential to continue developing characters and stories within the game's universe. Herman also commented that the team is still figuring out how far they can take the franchise. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of characters we want to continue exploring. Do you want to bring it to television? Do you want to do more comics? Do you want to have more games? I think just they want to expand it into different mediums as well, I believe. So Brazilian helped shape the game's identity. Another highlight of the interview was the presence of Charles Marcom on the AdHoc Studio team. The Brazilian works as a lead game designer for Dispatch and revealed that he participated directly in adapting the game to Brazilian Portuguese, helping to correct translations that didn't make cultural sense. During the conversation, Herman even joked that Charles saved several problematic localizations before release. One example said was the character Blonde Blazer, initially translated as Flaming Blonde. According to Marcom, the name was eventually adjusted to Luminous Blonde, which made more sense within the character concept. Another case mentioned is Golpe Baxia, which almost arrived in Brazil as Punho de Ferro, but had its name changed after discussions with the Brazilian to the localization team. There was a lot that needed this cultural adjustment, explained the Brazilian designer. And then he said, Brazil is among the most important countries for Dispatch. By the way, if anyone here is from Brazil, if you're a Dispatch fan, comment down below. Just put a Brazilian flag or something so I know you're from Brazil. Let's see how many of you guys are really here. So he also revealed that Brazil has become one of the most important markets for the game. According to him, Brazilian players are among the most engaged groups in the Dispatch community today. Brazil is in our top 10 for fan concentration, said the director. We really feel this affection here at Gamescom Latam. We wanted to reciprocate to the Brazilian fans in the same way they supported the game. Charles emphasized that the enthusiasm of the Brazilian public caught the attention of the entire team, citing everything from cosplay to support from the press and community on social media. He also highlighted that there are several Brazilian developers currently working at AdHoc Studio, which raised the possibility of greater participation from the country in the game in the future. Now, Dispatch may feature a Brazilian hero. When asked about the possibility of including a Brazilian hero in Dispatch, the developers did not rule out the idea. Marcom revealed that there is already a Brazilian character in the game, a security guard named Ronaldo, but suggested that the franchise's universe could go even further in the future. According to him, the creative team is constantly working on new heroes, powers, and concepts without limiting the setting to specific countries. We can go anywhere, so I'm sure at some point we'll end up in Brazil. You do see this in Season 2, just know guys, hey, we might have a Brazilian hero in Dispatch. To verify who Ronaldo actually was, And it says Ronaldo is a new employee at the Torrance Museum and calls in to report that somebody is robbing the place. So that's the Brazilian. In addition to the Dispatch franchise, AdHoc Studio also stated that it intends to continue exploring narrative and character-driven games regardless of the genre chosen for future projects. In other words, besides the series that blends Marvel with The Office, we can expect new games with other themes in the future. Would be obvious. We're not just going to do Dispatch forever. There's going to be that Critical Role stuff. There's going to be other stuff they do as well. AdHoc focuses on characters and narrative. Wherever the story takes us, we'll be there to tell interesting stories. It doesn't matter if it's about heroes, snowboarding, boxing, or anything else. You know we'll have interesting stories. Again, I talked about in the last video about some job openings. They actually have some new job openings because in the last video, the current job openings were for a QA lead and a technical director. Now we have an executive assistant and a senior UI/UX artist. And, you know, based on the Who Are We section, our goal is to create resonant experiences that put the player in charge of the story, giving them agency where most games take it away. Our first original title, Dispatch, was released in 2025. So it's pretty obvious. We all know they're working on some game at the current moment. Whether it is Dispatch 2 or the Critical Role game, that is to be seen. But again, all signs are pointing to it. And the fact that they are continuing to hire new job roles over and over means they are getting probably closer and closer. I mean, in my opinion, they're working on both the Critical Role game and Dispatch 2 at the same time, which would make sense. It's just what game are they putting the most emphasis towards and are going to release first is the main question. Let's talk about the newest DLC for Dispatch. So the HR Violations pack came out for Dispatch Wednesday, and it basically featured new visual styles for our naughty bits. Chaotic mode is particularly unhinged in the best way possible. So remember there was a whole situation I talked about with Nintendo basically having all that censorship. So our latest free update, HR Violations, adds new visual filters that can be found in Dispatch general settings. This update will have the biggest impact on Switch players, for these things have been made available as additional options for Steam and PS5 players. So the updates on PC, PlayStation, and Switch. Available settings vary per region, so read on to make sure you're fully aware of which HR violations you're committing to before you play. So we do know Nintendo Switch had all that censorship stuff, and basically AdHoc had made a little boo-boo. They made a mistake. It was not, again, all their fault, but they ended up not perfectly playing this out, and Dispatch was heavily censored and there was no way you could really take it off, which a lot of people were very angry with. So they made this little picture here about this. Download this free HR Violations Pack DLC on the Nintendo eShop to customize your censorship settings for Dispatch. The default settings in the Americas, Europe, and ANZ was partial. You can expect to see BB and obscene gestures, but not G or Invisigal's Dream Audio. Again, I know how YouTube is with stuff. I don't want to be saying these words because I don't want to get this video taken down. So, and then Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia, it's full censorship. Fully covered nudity, G, B, B, and obscene gestures without Invisigal's Dream Audio. So it's all, and if you're in any of those countries, you got full censorship if you're on Switch. If you're in the other countries now, now instead of having that full censorship like you had before, now you'll be able to see B, B, O, G, but not G or the Dream Audio. So as you guys know, this was the default censorship that they had was blackout, where basically it was just a black bar around the characters. Now they also had mosaic, which was another one where it's just basically blurred out, and then they had chaotic now, which is this is the new one. So you notice you got jorts on toxic, we've got a honey bun on granny, and then the middle finger from Sonar is basically now the cape from Dispatch's cover. So again, now on Switch, BBB are all set free, but the G and the explicit audio are out. Or you could do full coverage, which basically censors everything. Then you have these new styles. You have Mosaic, covers up with a demure pixelated blob. Chaotic covers up with whatever's lying around like jorts. Or Blackout, the standard censorship style, is available for maximum coverage. And again, the regional availability in North America, you have the choice of partial full coverage, but in Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, Southeast Asia, full coverage is only. In Japan, it's blackout only, but in every other country, it's your choice. Now, on PlayStation/Steam, it's still the same. You could have no censorship at all, or you could use one of those new filters. While Steam and PlayStation will continue to have all the classic uncensored smut you know and love as the default setting, we're also making this free update available on those platforms because everyone deserves the chance to see toxic and jorts. Xbox players will get access to these settings when the game releases later this summer. So we don't have a release date yet for Xbox, but it is going to be later this summer. My assumption is either going to be later in July or we're looking at early August. And again, if you want to find this, you have to go into the DLC menu in the Nintendo eShop, or on Steam and PlayStation, simply just update the game. Now again, this IGN article confirmed that these requirements are from Nintendo, so they could not get rid of all the censorship. Now, they kind of explained a bit more. The short version, approaching launch and running out of time and resources, we were surprised to learn that our game would require some level of censoring in all regions, not just the few we were already planning for. In a difficult spot, we decided to use a single Switch build that complied with Nintendo's strictest regional rating. This let us deliver a more censored version of Dispatch than Switch players were expecting. Censorship itself wasn't the problem, though. Those of you who wishlist, pre-ordered, or bought Dispatch on Switch did so based on what you'd seen in the trailers, previews, and reviews from other platforms. The problem was we didn't make it clear enough, and before you spent your money, that the version you were buying was materially different from that game. And for that, we're truly sorry. But you stuck with us, and the good news is that the success you all brought Dispatch gave us the opportunity to make this right, so we invested development time into creating the Switch version you all should have gotten in the first place. So, D&D inspired Critical Role's homegrown video game is coming along well, says Laura Bailey. There's a lot of work being done. So again, I wanted to bring this in as the final little bit to this video. I know it's mainly about Dispatch, but this is related to AdHoc. So, according to Laura Bailey on the Critical Role game, things are shaking, they're moving, they're shaking. I can't say anything else other than that. Bailey says, though, she does give us a morsel more info. There's a lot of work being done and a lot of talks happening and a lot of fun things I get to look at, and I can't say anything else. So we'll have to wait and see onto the whole side of that, but it seems like the Critical Role game is being in some form of development. Whether it comes before Dispatch 2, that is really the big question that we'll still be waiting to see. So with the Xbox update coming up, I do expect them to be announcing potentially the Infinite Dispatch mode, which again, as I mentioned earlier, was hinted. That might be coming with that. We'll wait and see on that. And then again, as for an announcement on a potential season 2 or what AdHoc's working on, best case scenario, maybe at the end of this year at the Game Awards, but again, I'm thinking maybe next year for an announcement. We'll wait and see, though. AdHoc is hard at work on whatever they're doing, and we just have to let them cook. Not rushing them, let them take their time. All right, folks, well, let me know what you think about all of this, about potentiality of Season 2, the original game, and the Critical Role stuff. I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Let's go for 1,500 likes on this video. Again, I greatly would appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this. And I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Peace and love, and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.